I am beating every N64 game, and I mean all of them. The twist is, the next game I play is randomly selected, so I have no clue what's coming next. This is the journey to beating every N64 game. Game number 72, Rat Attack. Released in 2000, this game was developed by Pure Entertainment and published by Mindscape. I've definitely never heard of this game before, and it's kind of a wild one. Like, what kind of game could Rat Attack be? Are the rats attacking? Are the rats being attacked? Well, we'll find out the answer to that and more in this video. The game has a single player mode, so we will complete that to beat this game. There's a bunch of different cats to choose from, like Hijinks, Sparky, Manx, Muffy DuPont, Bobcat, and Smokey. They all have different stat distributions in special moves, speed, and range. I just went with Hijinks as it seemed to have the most balanced stats, and I had no idea what any of them were at this point anyway. Then there's some opening lore. Some scientist cat is lecturing us about how evil mutant space rats Washington and Jefferson have returned from exile. But that's not even the worst part. Special Agent Pearl is missing. He wants us to take our Eradicator and defeat the rodents. Then we get into the game. It's an overhead 2D environment, so rats will spawn every so often, and your goal is to use this tool called the Eradicator to vaporize them. You hold the A button and a rectangle will form with one of the corners where you started holding it. Whatever rats are inside will be sent to a storage device, and you step on this orange button with the rat picture on it to permanently destroy them. You can also swipe your claws at rats to stun them, making them much easier to capture. After the required number of rats have been eliminated, a portal leading to the next level appears. You might be wondering, why are we doing this to the rats? Well, look at this. They're destroying this lovely rubber ducky. If the rats destroy all the objects in the room, then you lose a life. You can also lose a life by simply running out of health, which you lose by running into rats. This first world is the house, so all the levels are different rooms of the home. You might be thinking the game's really easy, but it gets a lot harder. You can't just spam collecting rats because if you take a hit, the rats in your storage get spilled out. This can be disastrous if you have a lot stored up. In level 4, a mutator pad popped up. If a rat steps on this, they'll be transformed into a mutant rat, giving them increased abilities. After beating 5 levels, I came to the first boss. I think we're in a garage or something like that? I don't know. There's this blue dog trying to kill us. The Eradicator's generally useless in boss fights. You have to think of some other way to defeat them. For this doggy, you just have to run away from it for so long. It'll begin a charging attack. Standing in the corner will cause the silly doggy to ram its head into the wall, dealing damage. Repeat this 4 times and the dog is done for. Generally, after beating a boss fight, the game will introduce new mechanics to the levels to make them more complex. After the first boss, a duplicator gets introduced, which will create copies of any rat that steps on it. Also, there's the teleporter, which you can use to teleport around the room. You might find treasure chests with certain items inside, and now there are buttons with a paw print on them, which cause certain special things in the level to happen. So like in this level, I couldn't reach the pad to destroy the rats without teleporting to it. It just got more and more complex the further in I went. There was a level with a dangerous lawnmower moving back and forth through the level, along with there being a mutator and duplicator. Before I knew it, the game went from being incredibly easy to being quite a challenge. The second boss was Beefy Bennett. I think it's the family dog, except mutated or something. He walks around with a big wooden club and stomps the ground, sending out lightning bolts. Boss fights can feel like puzzles in a way. Like, sure, you have to avoid all the attacks or whatever, but it's usually not obvious how to damage the boss itself. For this one, the game eventually gave me a tip that his neighbors hate loud noises, so I can stand on the trash can in the middle. If he hits it, the neighbors get mad and throw something at the dog. Aside from how awful that is the neighbors do that, we defeat the dog by repeating this over and over. I actually got a game over on this fight the first attempt. When you run out of lives, you have to start from the beginning of the current theme you're in. Essentially, you reach a new theme every time you beat a boss, so it's nice you don't have to restart from the beginning of the whole game. After 4 hits, a giant anvil fell on the dog's head, and the boss was defeated. If the neighbors threw that thing at him, they must be jacked. The game really ramped up after this. There started to be certain debuffs that could appear. Like there's this one that reverses your controls, which is horrible depending on when it happens. The graphics in this game are pretty good, I think. They went for a more cartoony look, and I think they nailed it. The music is just pure chaos. Both the music and sounds remind me of old cartoons like Animaniacs or something like that. It really fits the game perfectly. I ended up game overing again and figured I might as well try a new cat. I went with Minx as his range was super high. He definitely moves slower, but you can practically draw a box around the entire level with him, which is so nice. Some levels are really big though, and it can take a long time to reach the rat destroyer. Like, look at this. I'm running around a pinball machine and there's just all kinds of different rats everywhere. The game turns into pure chaos before you know it. Sometimes the rats can learn to jump over the eradicator. This can turn the entire level around in an instant. One thing I didn't realize until much later was each cat has a special move. For doing certain things like opening chests or killing a large number of rats at once, you can spawn a yellow cat token. If you fill up the meter in the top right, then you can use the special attack. For hijinks, this just summons lightning that vaporizes all rats on screen. The special really saves you in a pinch. After a few tries, I made it to the boss of the funhouse, the rat clown. Yeah, there's just a giant white rat dressed up as a clown, and it flies around with balloons. Basically, it summons these clown shoes to walk around the arena to try to somehow kill you by touching you. I don't know why they hurt you, but you have to step on the switches on the edge of the arena to launch a dart and pop the balloons. It's so hard to judge when it's lined up. It wasn't that bad though, and I beat the boss first try. The fourth zone is the haunted house. There's a bunch of horror themed things in these levels. Well, as much as there can be in a game intended for children. In this level there's a mysterious green slime moving around the level, and it somehow kills the rats if they touch it. The mechanics of the levels don't really change. There's just smarter rats and more rats. Rarely a piece of cheese will spawn, and you can drop it to lure the rats to eat it. It makes them easy to sweep up with the eradicator. The mutant rats are the biggest danger to the run, I think. Like, this rat is transforming into a vampire and it can fly. What am I supposed to do about that? The boss of this area is some headless dude walking around the arena swiping a sword. There are 4 cannons pointing to each side of the room, and a switch causes them to launch a bomb. You just have to launch a bomb such that the guy walks into it as it explodes. This one was real easy. Now we're in some sort of desert tomb environment. Apparently this guy named King Scarab is guarding the place, and we've got to stop him for some reason. The first level in this place had this horrible buzzing noise. I could easily see this level driving someone crazy. I got a new power up here that transformed me into a giant cat, and I could just run around squashing all the rats. I won't pretend like it wasn't satisfying to crush them, cause they kept jumping over the eradicator anyway. Like, screw those guys. I'm just trying to beat the game here, you know? The button to destroy the captured rats was becoming more dangerous as well. This one had a fan blowing me into a big pile of spikes. I really liked how the gameplay stays the same, but the levels just keep ramping up more in complexity. The boss here, as you might expect, is King Scarab. He moves around the room pretty quickly and sends out a laser beam to kill us. He also sends out a lot of tiny scarab minions, which we can capture with the eradicator. Sending those scarabs away damages him somehow. Just repeat it until he's dead. The next world is an art gallery. We've got to protect the priceless paintings of some famous cat that sure paints a lot like Andy Warhol. The mutant rats here were nuts. I wasn't able to stop them at all with either the eradicator or swiping, and they just insta-killed everything in the room. So basically the only thing you can do is just don't let rats mutate from here on out. The rats started jumping over my eradicator a lot more in these later levels as well, so I had to get used to swiping anytime I wanted to capture one. And then for some reason the dog showed back up in the art gallery. Like, I don't know why it wants to hurt me. I'm helping out, stopping the rats from destroying the owner's belongings. Come on, we should work together. The boss here was quite unique. If you recall the boss from the start of the game, this is the same thing except there's 3 dogs now, and instead of running into the walls, we have to lure it into these glass structures. If it rams into one of them twice, it falls on it, squashing it. After squashing all 3 dogs, this boss was toast. Now we finally make it to the prison where Pearl is being held. Remember, that's part of our mission to locate Special Agent Pearl. It's a dreary looking place as you'd expect, and I think that might be lava flowing through it, or maybe it's honey, who knows. The third level of this was wild, as the switch to destroy the rats was just moving around the room all crazy like, and there were these new mutant rat crates. If I were to kill the same number of rats as the number above the crate, a horrible rat comes out. I ended up doing just that, and this big red rat that could float and launch fire at me appeared. This dude was not messing around. The levels were so chaotic by this point. It wasn't uncommon to have like 15 or more rats on screen. It's so hard to keep up with all of it. The boss here is just called Rescue. Special Agent Pearl is seen in the center of the area, guarded by spinning laser beams. seems. There are these weird Easter Island looking things moving around the room, and they're pushing these cylindrical objects around. You just have to push all of them into the corners of the platform Pearl is standing on to win. I don't know, it's just weird. Now it was time. We finally go directly to Washington and Jefferson's spaceship to stop them once and for all. The environment here is all futuristic and metallic looking. You know, like you'd expect a spaceship to be. The second level had this flashing floor. I don't know if it was a dance floor or what. And there was a mutant rat flying around with a laser gun. It's the most annoying thing ever. For the most part, there wasn't anything we haven't seen before. After beating all the levels, it was time. We have to fight Washington and Jefferson themselves. They're flying around the room in small hovercrafts, and they'll occasionally shoot a beam towards you. The goal is to make them shoot each other, which should be easy because they're dumb rats and we're the awesome smart cats. After they shoot each other, you can swipe one of the energy poles in the room. Once they've shot enough, they'll die, ending their reign of terror once and for all. Or so we thought. The Professor Cat dude says Washington and Jefferson managed to escape. Even King Scarab got away somehow. However, we've saved the world for now and have earned a rest. Then the credits roll. Game complete. So yeah, there you have it. My journey to beating Rat Attack. This game is wild. Whoever came up with the ideas for this definitely has a vivid imagination. But you know what? It was pretty fun. The way the game works was really intuitive. It gave off the old high-score arcade-style games vibe while still including progression and a story with an ending. The music and art style fit the gameplay very well too. The bad part is it's so short, and there's not really any replayability other than just trying a higher difficulty or going for a high score. I gave it a 7 out of 10 for enjoyability and a 3.5 out of 10 for difficulty. Hey, thanks for watching the video. Have a sneak peek at the next game. So we have 319. Anything could be chosen. Go. 124. What's that? Oh man, okay. So this is interesting. The next J-League game. These are Japanese exclusive soccer games. However, the first J-League 64, you see I have it listed here. This game and FIFA Soccer 64 are identical. Just one is reskinned with Japanese players. So we're going to be playing both of them back to back because they are separate releases. However, it would be pointless to play one then play the other next. But we do have to beat both of them. But yeah, if you made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like. It helps the channel a lot. And if you like this series, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one.